Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about a type of leadership that is usually applied in educational fields. The concept of leadership is broad and very expansive. It has been associated for several decades that there is associated with different type between theories and leadership, and also leadership between different type of another leadership styles. Today I'm going to talk about instructional leadership, and this type usually applied in educational institution. We meant here instructional leadership, school principals or school headmasters. Instructional leadership set since 1980s, and it was the most popular themes in educational reform movement. Many people talk about instructional leadership. Authors talk about the importance of applying this type in schools. Some people saying like Mark and Prentry, Hellinger, Catherine Cotton, they mention about the focusing on principle rule led to focus on a principle as instructional leader. Also, some of them mention that 21st century principles are considered to be instructional leader. What's the problem behind this, the features of the type of instructional leadership? In the contrast, another studies saying that principal as instructional leader are not being leader in a school. Most of them, some studies showing that principal dealing with administrative work, either dealing with students' behavior issue. Instructional leadership is about collaboration relationship between the principal and teachers. And the study showed that there is teacher satisfaction has declined to the lowest point, and principal play an important role in this decline. Principal avoid being an instructional leader. They are given less time to observe teachers' behavior in the class. And some mention that principal do not interact frequently with teacher in monitoring class teaching and learning process. I tried to take this issue, I adopt it under the umbrella of theories. I went back, we are talking about a type of leadership. So I went back to the theories, what they are mentioned about leadership in general. For example, Fiedler, effectiveness leadership, he's talking about the three dimensions, interactive dimensions, leader, followers, and situation. Also, Holland mentioned about the situation and followers, leaders, in the three interactive dimension. I tried to fit this concept to our issue, instructional leadership. We found that instructional leadership also has a trick, influence, and control, as mentioned in this theory. Also, when we want to fit this concept of this theory to our issue, we mention here about the followers, and here in the other side about the teachers. What do they need? They need motivation. They need supportive. Also, we fit the three dimension, the situation, and he mentioned here, Fiedler, about the strategy and the procedure of the environment. And he focused about the task structural. So we went back also to the literature, and we found that instructional leadership also mentioned about the structure, task structure. Recently, I just read about Izzat 2017. He published a paper, and he mentioned that about the innovation in instructional leadership and link it. And there is several roles of a principal as an instructional leadership. And he mentioned about the innovation and the technology, the recent definition of instructional leadership focusing on the technology and innovation. And they mentioned two another theories. This theories, it was the main theories in this study. Path goal theory by House and Michel, focusing on two dimension, main dimension, leadership styles and followers' outcome. How can these leadership style impact on followers' outcome? The elements of leadership styles: directive, supportive, participative, achievement-oriented, and impact on job satisfaction regarding to the followers, job expectancy, and acceptance leaders. We try in this study to fit this two dimension to our issue. How can we relate these elements to instructional leader behavior? When we go back to instructional leadership roles definition, all concerned about, we found that there is mention about direct and indirect instructional leader. For example, here we found that we make compare and found link between the path goal theory and instructional leadership approach. We found that there is link between the concept of directive leadership style and path goal theory, also in instructional leadership. Then we linked about the supportive leadership. Also, we try to come out with the concept of supportive approach in instructional leadership. Same thing in participative, same things in achievement-oriented. And we try from both these, we come and link between each and get criteria. We link between the concept and the elements of the directive and path goal theory. We link it with the directive and indirective and path and instructional leadership. Same things we done in the 4 leaderships style. Just back, I want to mention to the third theory we adopted here in this study, transitive theory. This will I come later in details when I talk to the model. This based on the concept that if A impact on B, B impact on C, so A impact on so C impact on B. The Edward theory helped me to find the relation between these 3 elements, and I will explain it later in the model. Then after we analyze these elements between this practice and this theory, instructional leadership and path goal theory, we come out with the criteria. These criteria, then I change it to question that I will use it later to ask the participant in this study. I come after this literature review with 2 main questions. To what extent is the relationship of leadership style, directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented, I abbreviate in DISPA, in this study, effect on instructional leadership? And how does this relation between instructional leadership and DISPA affect on teachers' outcome, the 3 elements of job satisfaction, job expectancy, and acceptance of leader? Then we set this model based on this model. This has 2 terms, 2 phases. First, each one of these elements of leadership styles, for example, directive, supportive, participative, achievement-oriented, we want to test it, the effect on instructional leadership. Each one, as we show in the literature review, there is some criteria. We will ask the effectiveness of each these according to the criteria we stated before. We use it in this stage here. We use the multiple regression to found the data. Then to answer the second question, we used to ask how the instruction leadership effect on job satisfaction, and also on instruction leadership effect on job expectancy, same things on accepting leader. We use here simple regression to get the data. The methodology we used actually qualitative and quantitative. There is reason for using qualitative. I will tell you later why I use it. But I use here for quantitative descriptive, testing the descriptive, and it's based on general demographic description factors, advanced analysis, and then we test the hypothesis, and we use qualitative method. We use focus group. The participant people it was around 536, including teachers, principals, senior chiefs. I just want to mention senior chiefs, those chosen from the under Secretary of Ministry of Education, those who has they are professionalism and they has experience about the school administrative. The result that we got after we done this two methodology, we found that there is a statistically significant difference of the perception between teachers, principals, senior chiefs. Also, there is there is analysis of the effective of DISPA on instruction leadership that show statistically significant. The multi-regression analysis contribute how strong the influence of DISPA on instruction leadership. All the hypotheses in this term to answer the question one, hypotheses were accepted, and we reject the null hypothesis. The R square here, it was a good result. We got it 96%. Also, to answer the question two, also we found statistic significant between by using the simple regression impact the instruction leadership on job satisfaction. I call it JAJA, just to abbreviate. We found, still 5 minutes, we have, huh? There is impact on instruction leadership on job satisfaction. The result here we got 83%. Also, instruction leadership effect on jobs expectancy, and we got the R square result 81. Also, the instruction leadership effect on accepting leader, R square were result 80%. I just want to say that there is R square provide showing the strength relation of the relation between all the variables, and it's the result was good enough that showing that it's the model is quite good, that we can apply it, and the result showing is reliable. Not sure that's okay. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabah. Okay. Thank you, Sabah, very much. We'll open the floor for questions. Yes, please.
Well structured and engaging. So, but I have some questions on the data that you use. I mean, it's good that you are combining qualitative and quantitative methods to check, your model. But it's not clear to me. I might have missed the context. So where are you conducting this research? Is in Bahrain? I mean, so it's based
Yeah.
in Bahrain. So,
It's in Bahrain, actually.
okay.
All
And
the
and what kind of a quantitative model have you used? So because you are talking about, doing regressions, but what is your model that you're using? What kind of data are you putting there? Because it's not clear to me how you
I
run
used
the
the
regression.
survey. Maybe I didn't mention here. I used the questionnaire. I distributed by email to each school, the whole school, government school in Bahrain. And from each school, I emailed the principal to ask for 5 teachers from each school. It's including primary and intermediate and secondary school. All of them, we distribute all the survey for them. This is your question, and did you ask about qualitative also?
Well, I mean, what is your your equation for the regression? So what are your variables? So what did you put in your regression? Just to understand all the relations that you are trying to.
We focus in the survey. We ask them about how can this each type of leadership, how can it affect the instructional leadership styles. We use in the survey question for example, directive leadership has 15 elements to ask. Supportive leadership also has 19 questions. Each one tests the criteria of the relation between path goal theory and instruction leadership. According to the survey, we have some question for each type of leadership, also including the teacher's outcome.
And are you using the second part of your research with the qualitative methods somehow to test or to control your regressions? So how do you put together the two research or the two methods that you're using?
First time when I start in qualitative, I got at the beginning the data. Honestly, I wasn't too much happy, even if they are showing that there is effectiveness. I just want to something more reality. I went to ask the senior chiefs to support this study. You know what? When you asking the person, the main person, for example, the principal, I'm not sure he will give me everything's in real. Also the teacher. I will depend just on survey. But when I ask somebody is more high position of the principal, those senior chiefs who come usually to schools, they monitoring the behavior of principal. They are coming to see the outcome of the principal of the schools. They are observe the principal behavior regarding to teachers, to student, to what they are achieving.
Okay.
Also regarding to.
So we will keep the floor for one more question here. Amir, we need to ask you one question.
Sorry, there's 2 questions. Are you coming to the end of your PhD now? This is your.
Still, I need to work in discussion the result.
So how many months or years do you have before you finish your PhD?
Still, how long? I am in 3rd year. Finish it almost.
So you're finishing. Word of warning, please be careful. This is for all PhD students. You said we. Who is doing the research, you or somebody else?
I don't want to say I.
You have to.
I don't.
You must. It's your research. If you say we in your viva, you will not get your PhD. Can I please emphasize this? I tell you from my own experience, in my own viva, where I was told I had written one word that my external examiner said, did you do this research or did somebody else? And I said, no, I did it. And he said, but you've written here, we. So please, can I advise all PhD students, do not say we, the researcher, or I did the research. Okay, so just a small point there. Then a quick question I had. Sorry, another quick question.
Remaining for.
Sorry, yeah. You had some models from 1967, 54, and 1974. We are in 2017. Do you have any more up-to-date literature?
Which model do you mean?
So you had Instructional Leadership of Fiedler, Path Goal Leadership of House, and Transitive Theory of Edwards. But these are all a lot older than me.
No, I
and
mean...
maybe a lot older than most of us. So
No, I mean this is the conceptual theory that I depend on my research. But there is another models, 2013, regarding to Pat Goli, for Mordech and another people. I depend on their models, not this model. This I just show you here the conceptual theory that I depend on this study.
And
but those are not the models.
Okay. So my advice here, just observation again. Please make sure you talk about more recent research as well.
Yeah, I have these. Those,
otherwise, your external examiner may say this is out of date. You have not looked.
No, just theories. I just want to show that I depend on them.
We'll open the floor for one question for Leila.
Can you discuss further the implication that this research could have on teachers' training, teacher trainings, and on gender in particular? Because you're talking about leadership, and leadership is highly related to gender. So, I mean, how you conducted your data? Did you select only females or both genders?
You know what? I think I missed one slide because you are mentioning about something I didn't result. No, there is. Yeah, focus group. I didn't mention to focus group. Sorry. Good to mention this because I think I skip from this. Regarding to the gender, you mentioned here. I mentioned about the focus group result. I didn't mention to it also. Sorry. Or two slides. Yeah. This is one slide. Okay. ما ادري شو اسمه تعدى لحظة شوي بس. Okay, this is still one slide. I didn't finish it. I went to things. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, regarding to the focus, I talked about the quantitative. I didn't mention to the qualitative. But I said we, always said we, because leadership always saying we, and manager saying I. So that is confused me. So I don't want to understand that somebody else doing this. Focusing group, what we got from the focusing group, people who I met them, the senior chiefs, they mentioned about that it's very important to embed instructional the 4 leadership styles, because this one will increase the awareness about instructional leadership. We miss it here in Bahrain. Also, the quality assurance mentioned about the lack of effectiveness leadership in Bahrain. So they emphasize about the enhance the principles behavior through this type of leadership, and this will impact to teachers' outcome. Also, regarding what they said regarding to the gender, it's a pity to say this, that female is much better in applying the 4 leaderships than the male in government school. They mentioned this. And also, in general, supportive leadership and directive leadership styles is the more prevalent in Bahrain, using this in Bahrain. But participative leadership has the least applied among instructional leadership in Bahrain. This point in particular I mention here because I depend on the focus group opinion.
Okay, Sabah,
And
I
thank
would
you.
like to thank you very much. We'll keep the floor outside for more discussion. It's an interesting topic.
Okay, thank you.
Our also Dorothy, she's having a few questions maybe
Okay.
outside
Okay.
during the break. She can ask you.